you will see that probably pop up on your screen. So this way we can kind of have this on YouTube, and you can refer back to it, share it with whoever you want, that sort of thing. But let's get to it. So today we're going to talk all about HubSpot's reporting and attribution features, specifically focusing on some of the new updates to the reporting platform that they kind of rolled out this year and a little bit in inbound last year. So it'll be a little bit nuts and bolts for in the weeds of HubSpot. So I know there's sometimes a few non-HubSpot users on the call, but just bear with me, and we can probably translate this into some general reporting and attribution kind of talk as well. So just show of hands, everyone HubSpot users, you can chat in here or anywhere else, but just anyone not a HubSpot user. Okay, perfect. So this will be very relevant to you. So introductions, for those who have their first HubSpot user group meetup today. This is the Providence area HubSpot user group. We run events roughly quarterly. Right now they're virtual. In 2022, that may change to a combination of virtual and in-person. And the topics range quite a bit, from sales to marketing to support, obviously reporting like we're doing here, and everything in between. And we always come up with the topics on a one-off basis. So if you have a request, feel free to reach out to me via email or DM me if you have an idea. We'd love to include what you're looking for. But about me, I am the HubSpot user group leader. So you'll see me co-hosting often. This time around, I am also hosting. So I do at Figments a lot of the strategy execution for HubSpot. Otherwise, I do a lot of outdoorsy stuff lately, and cocktails. This is almost written for Rose's trip down below, but same. So great to have you all. If anyone else wants to do an intro, feel free to introduce yourself. If not, you can sit back and... Okay. In that case, I will keep going, but this is going to be a pretty casual session. I want to make sure that it's valuable to everyone. So if you have a specific question on the content we're going to cover, feel free to chime in whenever. You don't have to wait for our Q&A. So just jump right in whenever you feel like it. So today, we are going to do introductions, which we're doing here. We're going to talk a little bit quickly about data literacy and what it means to look at data and how to ask the right questions to build our reports. That way we can be focused on answering questions with our data rather than just pulling metrics for metrics. So we'll cover that a little bit. The main part is going to be kind of giving you an overview of the tools you have in HubSpot and how to get your reporting down, how to get attribution, how to measure ROI. So we'll discuss that. And then really the majority of this this meetup today is going to be a lot of Q&A. Ask me anything about reporting and with regards to HubSpot, and even outside of that. We want to make sure this is your time to answer any questions or struggles you might be having in the platform or elsewhere with metrics. Sounds good? Okie dokie. So let's get in. So we'll skip introductions. We already did that. But one thing I do want to ask is if there's anything that's gotten you excited lately in the world of marketing, sales, events, your job, anything like that, as it might be relevant. Again, don't feel obliged, but feel free to chat in the chat or chime in with anything that you've been kind of fired up about.
Very excited about inbound.
Yes, we've got Oprah, we've got Spike Lee, we've got Hassan Minaj, we've got so many good lineups for this year, so it'll be great. Is anyone going to inbound? or not going.
Isn't it entirely virtual?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
That they were considering, I think, an in-person element, but with kind of the yet another wave of COVID, it kind of pivoted. Probably looking at 2022, but yeah, all virtual.
Yeah, I've got at least 4 or 5 different sessions that I'm going to sign up for.
Nice.
All are revolving around video marketing.
So good. It's the future, Tim. Yeah, we might do like a viewing party, a small one. We'll see. Because that's the thing we sometimes miss with the with a virtual event. It's kind of the discussion. So we might have a small viewing party here at Figments. Anyone else? Otherwise, I will get to the I guess the meat of this hug. Alrighty then, let's keep it moving. All right, so first, before we talk into like how to build reports, how to build a good dashboard, I really want to talk about data literacy at a very high level, just to kind of get a sense of kind of the frame of mind you should be in when you're talking about making reports or doing any sort of marketing reporting. And we'll start with the definition. So data literacy, just being able to read, analyze, and then more importantly, argue with the data. So like you kind of have to not just look at a report and say, hey, we delivered 10% more emails than we did last month or something like that. It's more about what that story is and how to ask the right questions. And this is so important as we start to look at what we should be measuring, to really start with why are we even measuring this metric. So we'll cover that in a little bit. So really it's all about using questions and then having the data answer those questions rather than just kind of reporting for the sake of reporting. So when we start with that, we can really start to get down to the most important thing, which is actionable kind of things out of the data. It's one thing to see a trend. It's another thing to say, okay, here's why it's happening and what we're going to do about it. So I feel like a lot of you might already kind of intuitively understand that, but it's just important to really start with these kind of questions. So it really helps us out, and there's some stats to back it up. Only about 20% of business leaders would say they're comfortable with data or data literate, and a pretty small portion feel like they can work with their data and feel comfortable with it. A lot of that comes down to the quality, the siloing of data, which we'll cover later on, and even just like knowing what to do with it. So this is a really big problem that I think some of the tools in HubSpot will help us solve. And then on the other side, everyone wants it. So 70% of business leaders and workers want to improve their data skills. So there's certainly this gap that I think we can address with some of the reporting features inside of HubSpot. So any quick question, quick pulse. How are you using data today in your job? And what would you want to gain out of this HubSpot user group? Again, chat if you want to in the chat, or just chime in with your mic. That way we can make sure we have time to cover that. Okay. We will save them for the end. So let's get into it then. So basically what we're going to talk about are the tool set available to us. And really, when we're talking about reporting here, we're talking about looking at the data, not just reporting it in an email saying, here's what we did, here you go, here's your numbers. But really talking about like, how can we tease out the trends? How are our visitors, if they haven't converted yet, or our leads, if they have converted, react to the experiences we're making? So because we made this email or because we made this blog post, here's the impact that we had. So it's really about connecting what we're doing with what the audience is doing with that content and then optimizing from there. So that's where we're going to kind of focus our kind of lens here. And really, we're going to talk about four tools here. One, we have our analytics tools in HubSpot, which is kind of a bit like Google Analytics, like tracking what's going on with your website, tracking what's going on with your different landing pages. We're going to talk about dashboards, which is a compilation of reports, really. So assembling all the reports you need in one place so you can really tell a story with multiple data sources. And then we're going to talk about what goes into those dashboards, which is really the report builder where a lot of the new things have been happening with HubSpot, both with the library of canned reports and the custom one that they've recently kind of revamped over the last 6 months or so. So first, we're going to talk about where you can go. So suppose you need to build a report. There's really 3 places you should look inside of HubSpot. One is in the analytics tools area. So kind of up in this area, there's a little analytics tools area where you can kind of see, what's going on with sales, what's going on with traffic, what's going on with your campaigns, sales content, contact analytics, etc. And that's really like an at-a-glance overview of how are contacts being generated. If you're asking questions on like how is the website doing, this is a good place to start. If you don't find that there in kind of your overview, there's a report library that has a ton of reports pre-built, so you don't have to build anything from scratch. But if that doesn't work, we will turn to the custom builder, and we'll talk about each of these in detail in a little bit. So we talked about our analytics tools kind of at a glance. You can kind of go here and you can learn about, high level stuff. If that's not there, we're going to turn to this report library here. So essentially, this is going to have a bunch of canned reports for you. So here is, we'll click out to it just so you can kind of see it. So to get there, just go into your reports section of HubSpot. And then you hit discover. This is kind of your reports library. Here is it's really powerful for most questions. So any question you might have about data. So for example, I'm just looking at all of them, all these popular ones. Look for the question. So how many contacts have been created. This is kind of showing us our lead gen over time. Then there's ones specific to sales that you can kind of segment by, or email, or sales. So there's quite a few different reports available to us here, all the way from how is sales doing, what are they up to, what are their activities, who's doing the most, all the way down to how are our landing pages converting and our content landing with our audience. So these will probably answer, honestly, probably 75% of what you'll need to do. And the great thing about these is that you can kind of click into them and customize them. And then when you're done, you can just save them to a dashboard, which we'll cover dashboards in a bit. Has everyone used the canned reports before? Or is this new?
I was just going to ask if this was new or if I've never clicked this button in the HubSpot reports before.
Yeah, it's they changed the UI a little bit. So it used to be when you go to our reports section, there was like just a big list of reports that you can have, and they just moved all the library to Discover. So now it's a little bit better organized, so you can kind of search by feature of HubSpot, so like the ads feature, blogs, etc. But they did recently revamp it, so it could be new to you. But yeah, super, super helpful, real time saver if you're just looking for things that most people report on, leads, activity of sales, how landing pages are converting, where people are converting from is often a very helpful metric that people look at. So you could even look at like a contact generation by source, which is often helpful for attribution, especially if you're in the business of B2B, where you're just looking for lead gen. And then, like I said, you can just pull them directly into your dashboards, which we'll cover in a little bit. Any other questions? Alrighty, we'll keep it moving then. So if you can't find what you're looking for in that kind of analytics tools with those overviews or this can report library, there's a brand new custom builder that allows us to pull in all sorts of data. Really excited. It's been a long time coming on the roadmap for HubSpot. So let's cover that now too. So let's do it. So right now, there's 4 kinds of custom reports. There's what are called single object reports, which are basically reports where you're just reporting on contacts. So for example, if I want to run a report of everyone that has opened a marketing email in the last 30 days, and I want it as like a pie chart, maybe with their persona, that's a single object report. We're basically just looking at contacts and things attached to that contact record. There's also reports across multiple objects. So suppose I wanted to look at all the deals that are owned by a certain salesperson and their persona that goes with them. So persona, it would be a contact property because it's attached to a contact or an individual. Whereas the deal would be a deal property. So we're comparing deals and contacts. And then there's also funnel reports. So you can kind of look at, the progression of somebody through stages. Maybe it's life cycle stage. So from the time they become a visitor all the way to their customer. And then there's attribution reports, which basically connect revenue to marketing. And we're going to cover each of these at a high level. But I'm going to go kind of quick just so we can save some time to kind of cover specific use cases for everyone. Just because I know it's kind of general right now. And I really want to bring it to the ground with your questions that you might have about reports. So we're going to really focus on these 2 for now with the new report builder. So right now, this text-heavy slide, you can just use a custom report. You can look at records from a particular source. So contacts, companies, deals, tickets, anything that's an object in HubSpot. But new to 2021, this new custom report builder allows us to connect not only to objects like contacts and companies, but also to events like marketing emails or sales emails or sequences or landing pages. So now we can tie whatever happens to a contact with the actual marketing channel that they're working through. And I'll give you some examples in this next slide here. So essentially, we can pull in all sorts of different data sources. This is a screenshot from the HubSpot Reports Builder. But essentially, you can get here through just by making a new report. You just hit this custom report builder. So now you can see these are kind of like standard CRM objects that we were kind of tied to. But now we can actually select and run reports along the lines of, how are our marketing emails and our sales activities and our service conversations kind of coming together. So you can see here, I actually have 4 data sources I can report on. So this really helps us attribute what's going on and get some really deep insights out of reporting. So new things that weren't possible before, or at least not as easy to do, would be things like how are our marketing emails distributed across our sales team? This is often important in like a sales and marketing initiative where you're sending emails out, perhaps for sales enablement, and you want to make sure that no particular rep is getting an inordinate amount of share of engagement, or if they are, you want to know that so you can figure out why that is. So now it's very easy to actually see all the contact owners and how their contacts are engaging with email. Or perhaps you want to look at pipeline value broken down by persona. So you can maybe see if a particular marketing persona you have is generating more or less leads than before, or more revenue. And then channels by deal is another one that's kind of common. So it's much easier now to mix and match these different reports that were normally siloed in HubSpot. Any questions so far? Okie dokie. We'll keep it moving. So we'll cover that. We'll cover some examples. I'd love to break down a few examples someone might have, and we can kind of do it live at the end. And then maybe we can replicate that in your own hub. So I'd like to make sure there's some time for that. But real quick, we'll go through the other two reports. Kind of new, not as new as the new report builder that I just showed, but still helpful to kind of look at. And that's the funnel or pipeline reports or the attribution reports. So for the funnel reports, essentially, you can actually configure a report to see and move linearly through like a deal stage. So this is sometimes helpful for, if you wanted to look at, for example, everyone that goes through your pipeline. Right now, it's not going to make a lot of sense, but you can actually track your conversion rates through the funnel. This is very, very, very helpful for anyone that's in sales, so or in e-commerce. If you have your funnel stages set up for an e-commerce like integration, so you can really see at a glance, logging in every day, where are deals getting stuck, what's least likely to convert, and you can really forecast that effectively here. So that works. Funnel reports work for things like life cycle stage. So if you want to see your progression through, perhaps, let's do this. Like how many people were created, how many people became leads, how many of those turned into marketing qualified, sales qualified, opportunity, and then ultimately customer. You can really start to break down your conversion rates at a glance. These funnel reports are really helpful. Again, in like a sales enablement kind of role, if you're using the deals pipeline of HubSpot alongside your marketing stuff, because then you can really see what's going on with the leads. So for example, something like this could tell us where are people getting stuck in our pipeline. Maybe we're generating tons of leads, but the leads aren't very good, so they never advance to the MQ or SQL stage. Or maybe we're getting, we're killing it in this lower pipeline stages, but we're just not generating enough leads. That can trigger marketing to kind of work with sales and really identifying what kinds of content do we need to create to drive more leads. So a report like this is often very, very helpful for both sales and marketing people, and one that's now quite easy to kind of look at in HubSpot. Is this something new to the team here? Or are you like, Dave, this is pretty old news to me? All right, Jenna says new, so we'll call it new. So yeah, definitely recommend these, especially if you're looking on like creating a sales and marketing, like a service level agreement where marketing's on the hook for a certain number of leads and sales is on the hook for a certain amount of follow-up. Having something like that in front of both parties is really helpful in getting like a shared understanding of what the overall marketing and sales initiative is kind of shaping up to be. And then, of course, I would absolutely advise that any reports you make, you bring in, if you're in sales, bring in your marketing counterpart, or if you're in service, bring in your sales and marketing counterparts, just to give them a sense of what you're tracking, so they can understand what's success to so you can understand what success means to them, and then vice versa, because really at the end of the day, it's all about leads and sales. I think that's true if you're in service, if you're in marketing, or if you're in sales. So having these reports really creates a shared understanding. And then lastly, we're going to talk about dashboards. And One thing I kind of get on my my high horse about a little bit with dashboards is really making sure the intent behind the dashboard is very clear. Something that you might share with like a leadership or a stakeholder that just kind of shows how things are going is going to be very different from what you share with the content team to show to kind of tell the story of what's working and what's not working. So whenever you build a dashboard, I like to frame it around a single question or a single story, if you will. So kind of like how you might write a blog post to tell a story about how, I don't know, sales and marketing can live together, or how widget X is better than widget Y. You're really answering a question, right? And that should be true with data as well. So make sure you're whenever you build a dashboard, ask, why does this exist, and what is the bare minimum allowed to tell that story? Just because it's too often a common dashboard mistake is to just put everything that could possibly be interesting to somebody, but then that kind of distracts from the story. So you want to make sure, I like to just put like 3 or 4 different things on your dashboard that are really vital to telling the story. Essentially, got ahead of myself, but here's some like quick rules of thumb. Just start with your end goal. Look out for data overload. So don't put something on there if it's going to be useful to maybe one stakeholder, but not anyone else. That person can maybe deal with it or just get that report sent separately to them. The dashboard is really all about, if you're on a desert island and you want to know how our ads are doing, what's the bare minimum you need to understand how that's going. And then sometimes you might need to provide context. And this is a new thing in HubSpot that I want to call out really quickly. That the dashboards don't just have to be just all widgets like this. There is actually a new thing you can add in HubSpot, which is actually a rich text editor, which is something they added earlier this year. But in this rich text editor, you can actually provide like a quick sentence or two on how to actually use the dashboard. We find this super helpful for anyone that isn't necessarily used to looking at the metrics. So, executive leadership might be one example of somebody that might want like a write-up on like what this dashboard is trying to tell you. Maybe there's some supplemental links that you might want to add, or maybe images. And here you can actually put in a little text field. Right now, I just put it pretty basic, but anything that you could put in like a blog post, so images, links, anything like that, you can also put as like a little widget here. And then maybe you want to rearrange it. So like first thing they see is like a little disclaimer on what this dashboard is trying to say. So that's really helpful for providing context, and it's something that a lot of people have been asking for. And then just make sure you're using the right chart types. I could talk all day about chart types, but I won't. Certain ones are better than others, and I would be glad to answer that in a question later on. And then overall, like when you're in doubt, go with what a lot of user experience people use in the field when they're talking about websites or app experiences, which is the 5-second rule. I should be able to look at a dashboard and within 5 seconds kind of know what's going on here. So like in this case, I know our pipeline's pretty full. Most of it's coming from sales, and a lot of our leads are coming through ads. So and that's helpful to me. But if your audience can't understand it in 5 minutes or 5 seconds rather, then you probably should remove some widgets. Make sense? Awesome. We could do this activity, but does anyone have a couple KPIs that they're planning to track or want to track? we might be able to build them out live. If not, we'll wait till Q&A. We'll wait till Q&A then. All right, so we'll bring it all together. So you have your tools to make reports, you have your dashboards, and someone comes up to you and says, what about ROI? How are we doing? What's our return on all the cool stuff we're doing in marketing, or all the people we're following up with all day if you're in sales? So essentially, this is the raw ROI formula. So it's however much we spend on marketing. We take that and we would take how much we earned, and you get a little percentage and multiply by 100. So basically, here's your kind of funnel. If we get 12 leads, 100 leads and 12 of them become customers, our customer rates this, and then we multiply that by our average sales price and divide by our cost. So this formula is pretty basic. Basically, just kind of covering people that become customers, average sales price, we can turn into percentage. So basically, it sounds simple, but a lot of people are in this kind of this boat where they're like, well, I don't even know where to start. I don't know what my average deal size is. I don't know how many people are becoming leads. I don't know how many people are becoming customers. So I'm kind of in the dark. And that's not unusual. I think people have been talking about attribution probably for at least 20 years in marketing. And recently it's kind of intensified with the rise of a lot of MarTech that allows us to measure things better. So it's getting easier than ever. So don't be worried if you're in this boat of trying to measure ROI. There's places you can start. So first you need to start with measuring your funnel. Just because we know we need to know this, we need to know this, we need to know this, and we need to know this. So we can kind of break it down by from the top down. So how many people are landing on the site? How many people are visiting our pages that can convert? So not just a home page, but like perhaps a product page if you're in e-commerce, or maybe a piece of thought leadership if you're in like the B2B lead gen space. Then from there, how many people are converting? How many people are qualified by marketing? How many people qualify for sales? How many people are actually in pursuit? And then close deals. If you can measure all of these, you can get a pretty good guess at your ROI. And then even if you're missing a couple of these pieces, at least you'll know where you're getting traction and where you need to shore up maybe some weak spots. So at the very least, start with this. And then for those who have some of the higher tier marketing hubs, like Marketing Hub Professional Enterprise, there are actually attribution reports that do a lot of this work for you if you're using HubSpot for deals and for lead capture and basically the whole stack. And I wanted to save this for last because it kind of brings a lot of things all together. So basically, using the attribution report, which you'll get by going to creating a new report and then making a new one and then going here. You'll see a few are locked for me just because I'm not on a Sales Hub program, but you could actually attribute contact creation by source. So here is a very basic one that gives you kind of like what kind of interactions generate the most contacts. That's the question we ask with this report. And we can kind of see here, most of our contacts are actually coming from our ads and some of the content offers that we have that are kind of getting ranked organically. But sometimes some organizations that are really sales heavy might have these two pieces come in stronger. And you can even configure it by, what are generating the most sales qualified leads. And sometimes you'll see this start to flip. So The attribution reports are really helpful to kind of figure out what's generating the most traction for us. And you can kind of segment it based on, total leads or just qualified leads. And I would definitely recommend having this get reviewed, certainly with content and marketing, and perhaps sales as well, just so you can really understand what's kind of generating the impact. So you can focus on the things that are generating more impact and less on the ones that are not. And again, you can kind of sort this by date range and all that. So you also can look at different attribution models in HubSpot. I'm not going to get into too much of that. It's fairly technical, probably outside of what we want to talk about today. But you can look at various attribution models from kind of linear, which kind of gives equal credit to every interaction someone has, to last interaction, which is when they most recently converted, and even like U-shaped. So there's all kinds of different attribution models. I recommend checking out HubSpot's blog post on attribution models to kind of show all the different ones. So yeah, that really makes it easy for you to really pull out some insights without doing too much of the manual calculations. So you can kind of see, here's a HubSpot example. So you can see some rather large deal values where you can kind of see, again, in 5 seconds, that the web pages and landing pages are generating the most amount of revenue, followed by some of the email, and then sales, which is this conversation piece. So it makes it really, really, really simple to see what's doing well. Is anyone using attribution reporting in their HubSpot instance? I guess not. Blowing minds over here today. Great. So we'll get to this. I want to create some custom reports with you all. That way we can really see it in action. Like workflows, it's kind of theoretical until we start to see some real world examples. So from here, we kind of want to close on this. So that's how you kind of make some dashboards with best practices, by leading with the question, making it simple, and really answering the question. So really what we're trying to do with reporting is take action rather than just report. So if you're creating dashboards and there's nothing you can do to fix them, to like improve the metrics or to learn anything out of them, then it's really just kind of a report for reporting's sake. And we're not really going to do anything better with that data. So I would encourage everyone to really start with the question. All right. So that is the deck portion. We have probably officially 15 minutes or so for questions, but I'm happy to answer as many as it takes until you're all out of questions.
I had a question about the custom report builder.
Yep.
So when you go into the custom report builder, you have the different sections, and I noticed under marketing there was a tab that said media beta.
Yes.
What type of media specifically is that? Is that social media? Is that video, audio, podcasts? Do you happen to know what that is?
I am so glad you asked. This is actually a beta test that's being rolled out. Effectively by media, we mean any like video or interactive kind of format, usually video when they're talking about media. And in this case, we can actually track videos that are either hosted in HubSpot via the Vidyard integration or through another integration like Wistia. So you can actually connect something like, I'll just create a made-up report like, what customers actually do. I'll apply what it's called a filter. So I want to look at maybe what customers are looking at videos and which videos are most common. Right now, I don't think I have the integration set up on this instance, but you could do something like you have that filter set up for customers, and then you could say, show me, the media plays by media of customer plays. So if I had a bunch of videos in our video library, which I don't, you can actually visualize them and probably have it somewhat like this. So all the videos would be on this side, and you can see the number of plays their customers are doing. So you can kind of answer the question of like, what are our customers most engaged with in video?
Okay. And then in addition to being able to like track that specific video, say it's a video, right? In
Yep.
addition to be able to track that, just assume it's on Wistia or YouTube, or maybe it's on Wistia through the HubSpot integration. I know Wistia has capabilities to add like clickable links, call to actions, things that can redirect to a website or a landing page. But say that video is just living on a landing page, right? And you're trying to use that video without a built-in like call to action interaction, but maybe to generate contacts, right? Say it's on a contact form. Is there a way to link those media analytics with, say, like a contact entry form on a landing page, so that you can see like how many views you got versus how many people filled out that form?
Yes, you could. You could do something like maybe you wanted to look at. What's the easiest way to do it? Yeah, maybe you want to look at everyone that looked at this page recently. So this would kind of show us everyone that's looked at a particular page.
Oh,
and
cool.
then you can kind of see the media plays associated with that. Or you can even segment by a specific form submission as well, which would actually be a 3-object report. So you would maybe do something like this, where you want to pull in media, our contacts, and maybe perhaps sales activities.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So you can actually pull in, a specific form submission. So if they filled out a specific form submission and they watched the video, we can kind of see that side by side. So you can see there's like so many different directions we can go in. Of course, I'd probably start with the question of, how impactful is having this video with conversion rates? And
Sure.
that would probably be like the way I would frame this report.
Got it. Thanks, Dave.
Yep. Happy to help, Tim. Any other questions so far?
I do. I feel like I have a pretty good hold on finding the metrics and reading things from campaigns, but how would you create a dashboard that reports on maybe organic contacts coming in and like inbound leads, not from paid ads?
Sure. So really, I'd probably start with kind of like a brainstorm of where they tend to come from. So I think at a high level, most companies will say they come in from the blog, they come in from Contact Us, maybe they come in from like a service page that happens to rank organically. So from there, you might want to create something like an attribution report, where you could, let's go here. So you can do something like this. I actually kind of like it like this. And then maybe you want to, let's do, You could probably add that as a filter instead. Let's actually do that. You probably want to create a list of everyone that's been created through organic search and maybe referral. So then you would select that list, say it was this, everyone from organic search. That shows us only the contacts that came through organic search. And then we kind of layer that on top of where they came from. So you can see it's a little small on the screen. Let me make it a little bigger. You can actually see from here, we have the name of the contact that they actually converted off of. So, here's a few of our content offers. You could also maybe do something like that as well. So you can kind of see that they came in through blog, and then you can even click it. And then you'll start to see which blog they actually converted off of. So there's some real depth to the attribution reporting. I guess it comes down to like how much detail do you want to know? Do you want to know specific to blogs? And you would kind of create a blog specific report and maybe like a landing page specific report. But that's kind of like a high level on how to do it.
And does it automatically pull data from all time?
Yes, unless you specify otherwise. So in this case, I think it defaulted to rolling 60 days. But I could just as easily say all of the data ever. And I can even like select by SQL, for example. Or I could go, I can go down here and I can kind of start to see just customers, for example. But yeah, I'd encourage you to kind of play around with this report just because there's so many different directions you can go in. Does that help?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Awesome. Any other questions? Awesome. Well, if there are none, we can go to conclude. We will send this out, the recording, as soon as it's done, kind of, encoding and processing. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, feel free to DM me on LinkedIn or email me at this address. Happy to walk through any struggles you might be having with reporting or with really anything HubSpot. Today the HubSpot user group is about reporting. Tomorrow it might be about email. So reach out to me for anything you want to talk about. But otherwise, thanks so much for tuning in. And I hope to see y'all in next Hug, which will be in Q4. Usually we like to have it early December just to try to avoid both Thanksgiving and Christmas. I know Q4 is a little wacky for a lot of people. But that's probably when it's going to happen. So just keep your eyes out in your inbox for that invite coming along. And again, if you have any questions or if you have an idea for a topic, let me know. And we'll probably get that slotted in. Alrighty, thanks everyone.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye,
all.
y'all.